I look back on my military career with immense gratitude. Leadership is all about service. Service to your people and helping them become the very best at whatever they're doing that they can be. That's what leadership's about. Guess what? The skills you need as a salesperson are not the same skills you need as a leader and as a manager. Hiring is one of the hardest parts of being a leader. I'm looking for curiosity, I'm looking for coachability, and I'm looking for commitment.
At the moment, what sort of exercise are you doing? What does your typical exercise week look like?
You know, like anybody, work hard to try and fit it into the routine. My routine involves regular travel, whether it's here in the UK or over to the US, whatever it might be. So realistically, there's not really a pattern, but I try and get a couple of strength workouts in a week, and then if I can, get some CV in. But me and CV, we have a love-hate relationship. I love swimming, open water swimming.
All right.
I detest running.
Why?
I just find it really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the problem is you then don't do it, and then because you don't do it, when you go out and do it, it hurts.
It's hard, yeah.
But when you do it and you go out and you get stronger,
Yeah.
and you get better, you see the progress, and actually it hurts less. Like many things in life.
Yeah, that's true. It's less of a life, that.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I have to battle every single day is a lot of my time is in meetings or on calls. So, like many people, a lot of those are Zoom. I have to say, in the last 3 months, we've seen a big change of people being willing to meet in person. And I love that.
Yeah.
That human connection, for me, it's really, really important.
I agree.
But even those meetings generally are sat down.
That's true, yeah.
So,
this is where this idea came from.
Yeah.
With growing pains.
Right.
Because it was actually Andy Daly who said to me, he says, next time you're in London, let's go for a workout.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a great way to connect with people in my industry. And rather than going for a coffee, go for a workout.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why don't we film it? Yeah. Film the workout and film the conversation.
Yeah.
That's where the idea came from. Because I was like, I'm the same as you. It's coffee meetings, it's Zoom. You always sat down. Why not go for a walk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's top tip, right? For anybody that's working with colleagues, one-to-one, why sit down around the table? Put a coat on, go out and walk.
Yeah.
Walk around the block.
Yeah.
Because actually, psychologically, when you're walking alongside somebody, there's a massive difference between sat across the table from someone. It's more of a camaraderie. And so one of my favorite things is literally, let's go for a walk and talk.
Yeah.
And actually, it changes the whole dynamic. And you really get to know the person.
Yeah.
As well as work through the things you would have done if you just sat around the table.
Yeah. I think as well, I've done it before with my team, and I feel you can get your point across easier, and I think the other person as well, maybe if you're going for a more of a difficult conversation as well, they're able to express how they're feeling a bit easier, because it's less intense of just being across the table, isn't it, from each other?
Yeah, you're side by side.
Yeah.
You're not across the table.
Yeah.
You're side by side.
Yeah.
Psychologically, you're there together. You're not facing each other.
Yeah.
And for blokes especially, that's the thing.
Yeah, I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different for blokes, isn't it? Well, yeah, speaking of, blokes, I'm sure you spent a lot of time with blokes in your early days in the military.
Yeah.
Something we haven't spoke about, actually, yeah. Because I was going on your LinkedIn and I scroll all the way to the bottom, I could see you spent some time in there. So being in that disciplined environment, I'm sure has set you up for success and everything else you've done in your career, but how do you feel that military background has helped you as a leader and just getting into software sales leadership, all of that?
I look back on my military career with immense gratitude and put the politics aside. You just have to look at the world today to know that it's not always a safe place. And that can vary for different people, different experiences. But for me, whether you believe in the military or not, I had 6 incredible years. I went through Sandhurst, so I was trained as an officer. My first deployment was to Northern Ireland before the peace. And again, politics aside, it was a real job. And there's a real threat. And so you had to be on top of your game. You had to be prepared. You had to know what you were doing. You had to trust the people around you. And a lot of the principles that I think were either brought out in me or reinforced or given to me from those 6 years I would like to think have stayed with me now. It certainly shapes how I think. Little things like, it sounds crazy, but one of the things we always used to do as an officer is your men, and I was in the infantry, so it was all men, your men always came first. So, you might be out on a big patrol, you get to, I'll call it a camping spot, but your RV where you're going to bed down for whatever period. The first thing you do after setting up your security perimeter is you check on your men. Were they all right? Were they getting rest? Were they getting fed? Were they looked after? And only after you'd done that would you then take care of yourself. Little things like you join the line for some food. As an officer, you would always wait until every single one of your men ate before you ate. And it sounds weird. I catch myself unconsciously in the office doing exactly that. So if we get food in, like yesterday we had a town hall, get food in, I don't even think about it. I'm like, everyone else eats first, and there's this stuff left, I might grab something. And it sounds like a really weird thing, but there are certain principles there illustrated by that I think are really important. Leadership is all about service. Service to your people and helping them become the very best at whatever they're doing that they can be. That's what leadership's about.
Yeah, it's leaders eat last again, isn't it? Like Simon Sinek's book.
Yeah,
So,
completely.
Is that where his concept came from, do you think?
I don't know.
No, sure.
I really don't know.
Would make sense, wouldn't it?
In the military, that's the thing. Leaders eat last.
Well, let's, you on?
I'm warm.
Cool, let's jump off. I'll show you the workout for today. I think you already know it, but we'll take a walk over to the board. So, we said we're going to do a full body workout. So we'll start off with some walking lunges. That's the first time we've done that on growing pains, so we'll see how that goes. Romanian deadlifts.
Hopefully your knee will be all right.
Yeah, I'll be fine, yeah. Romanian deadlifts.
Yep.
Bench press, we pretty much always do that, but it's just best exercise. And then we'll do a superset with strict press and some a back exercise, chest supported row, and we'll finish off with a WOD, which is burpees. What you like at burpees?
Gotta be careful with my back. We'll give it a go.
Yeah. Burpees, rowing.
Yep.
Push press, and back onto the bikes as well. So we'll do that for 12 minutes and see how we get on. Then at the end, as everyone knows, there's the 30-second max cal ski, which I think you're going to go to the top, right?
I've seen the leaderboard. No.
Cool. Lovely. How's that feel?
It's good. Knees are creaking, as they always do.
No pain though.
No. They've always kind of like, almost like sandpaper.
Yeah.
They've always just made that noise. I don't know why. It doesn't cause me pain. Just sounds terrible.
Yeah. As soon as you get back, I'll go.
Looking sharp.
It's all right, wasn't it?
Feel good?
Yeah. Before you do your next set,
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, you just touched on leadership and how the military backgrounds affected your style of leadership throughout your career, but how do you feel you've changed as a leader from, let's say, your first leadership role in tech compared to now?
Like many leaders, right? Honestly, I've got the scars. I've made decisions that I look back on and I'm like, how could you ever make a decision like that? And what I came to realize is that actually it's really important to give yourself grace. Because as a leader, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Your job is not to be the smartest person in the room.
Okay.
Your job is to bring together a team of people that together have diverse views and can discuss them in a safe space where you can have the tough conversations. I didn't realize that when I started in leadership. Okay. I thought my job, in some ways, is weird, because in the Army there's a tacit agreement as an officer. You're never on first name terms with your men, right? They would always call you sir, or once you won their respect and earned their respect, you'd be called boss. And I knew when the guys started calling me boss that I'd been accepted. I'd earned their trust. And then when I got my first leadership job, I remember, I thought part of what I was there to do was kind of be everyone's friend. So I've made that mistake. I've made the mistake of being the super rep. Classic mistake for first-time managers. You know, sales leaders, hey, I'm going to go in there and I'm actually going to show my rep how to do it every time. And I'm going to go and close the deal. I'm going to do the negotiation. At some point, that's only going to scale so far. And so the trick that I learned was actually to step back, to empower people, to create a space in which they could make mistakes, and actually, you know, create a space where they felt comfortable to take risks, calculated risks. And do you know what? Guess what? Sometimes they wouldn't work. Worst case, we always learned something. And so I think what I would like to think that the people I work with now would say is that I trust them, that I support them in their decisions, that I try and help them come to the answers, to look at the options available. But ultimately, you know, my view is I'm not there to do their job for them. I'm not there to tell them how to do their job, but I am there to help them do it better. And I hope that they would associate the work that I do with that final bit, helping them be a better version of themselves, a better leader for the team, a better performer as an individual contributor.
Yeah.
That would be my hope, but you'd have to speak to them.
No, I think I'm learning myself as a leader, and just from the conversations I'm having on this video series, that it is that trust element. It's a big factor in leadership, which I think a lot of young leaders maybe don't have, and maybe that sometimes, admittedly, I not struggle with, but maybe I'm adapting to trusting my team and allowing them to make those mistakes. We spoke about it in the last episode. Yes, it's interesting. Do you feel like that was more of a just inexperience, maybe where you didn't have that trust in your team before and you wanted to always jump in and...
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, if we talk about sales, so my background is sales, so I'm sure it applies elsewhere, but I can tell you that a lot of the time, the people that get promoted from being a really successful individual contributor are put into management because they're brilliant at being a salesperson.
Yeah.
Guess what? The skills you need as a salesperson are not the same skills you need as a leader and as a manager. And how many businesses say, hey, no, I got a great opportunity for you. You crushed it the last 3 years, smashed your quota, and now you want you to lead this team.
Be a leader, yeah.
Off you go. And there's very little formal training. It's a bit like coaching. Coaching is a learned skill. And just, you know, if you've never done it before, you're not going to be great at it first time.
True, yeah.
We were talking about running earlier, or you know, coming here doing walking lunges. If you've never done walking lunges before,
Not be good at it.
You're not going to be good at it first time. You're not going to be lifting heavy weights. You're just going to be doing it without weights, and you're going to be focusing on your form and technique. And in the same way that you can get better and improve over time by repetition, it's the same with coaching. Practice it, get the feedback, give yourself grace that you're not going to be perfect, you're going to make mistakes. And that's true. Like even today, I make all sorts of mistakes. But giving yourself grace and giving yourself the opportunity to learn and grow, parking the ego at the door, understanding that your job is not to be the smartest person in the room. Your job is to focus on the individual and what their challenges are, and then be very targeted in how and where you can help them. But you have to enable them, because otherwise they never grow. And if you are a first-line leader or a second-line leader, if you are not growing your people, I would argue fundamentally you're missing a very substantial part of your role. My role is to make sure that everybody I work with grows throughout the time that I work with them, whether they grow with us at Sixth Sense or whether they grow and go on to do other things elsewhere. So long as they go on to bigger and better things, whatever bigger and better is for them, we've succeeded.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do your next set?
Yeah.
Should we do them together?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's not a race though, right?
No, it's not a race. No.
Form and technique.
All about form and technique, yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Seven. So what's one thing we spoke about previously on our Zoom on the lead up to this is situational leadership.
Yep.
First time I've heard of it.
Okay.
Tell me more about what situational leadership is and why it's been important to you and how you've implemented it.
So situational leadership is a really simple framework. And the premise of it, and there's loads of information online, so if you haven't come across it before, just get on the internet. There's lots of good resources. The premise of it, the problem it solves, is that across a team, everybody in that team that you might want to do to get to do a task is at different levels, right? Go back to our walking lunges. You're at a different level than me. You're lifting heavier weights. I'm not. That's okay. Situational leadership applies the same principle. We've adapted your weight to your strength and your condition. We've adapted mine to mine. Situational leadership provides a framework that you can apply to help tailor your coaching to where a given individual is on a specific task. So in the sales world, let's take cold calling. It's gone out of fashion. I'd argue it's coming back into fashion if people aren't picking the phone up. You will know this from your work.
I love it.
Missing a trick. Missing a trick because it cuts through the noise. Anybody can send thousands of emails with cadencing tools and the likes. We're all getting thousands every day as leaders. How many of those do we look at? About one, maybe. If the phone rings, it stands out. So let's take cold calling. If you've never done cold calling before, I'm going to coach you very differently to somebody that's been doing it for a year. And situational leadership allows me to think about, Niall, where are you on this specific task? How much experience have you got of doing that task? Where have I seen evidence of you doing it well or less well? And if you can take all of that input in, I can then adapt my coaching to suit your level of skill. So if you're doing something for the first time, I'm going to be very directive. I'm going to give you very clear instructions on how to do a walking lunge, on how to prepare for your cold call, on what to do when that person picks up or when they don't pick up. If they don't pick up, are you going to leave a voicemail? What are you going to say on that voicemail? And I'm going to give you some specific guidance and ideas that you can then go and practice. We're probably going to role play it together.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But we're going to be very, very tactical, very detail oriented. If you've been doing it for a year, you know that stuff. I don't need to tell you about it. You are unconsciously competent. You just pick up the phone and you do it. You've done your prep, you know what you're going to say, you know the different scenarios, you know the common objections, and you're going to work through them seamlessly. And so my job then as a coach is to help amplify that, is to help, when you come across something maybe slightly different or new, is to help you work through it, is to encourage you to come up with the ideas. So at one end of the spectrum, we're being very directive, we're being very detailed in what is expected, and we're giving very clear examples. At the other end of the spectrum, we are facilitating, we are encouraging, we are seeking to draw out the ideas from you and to reinforce those to help you come up with the ideas. And situational framework breaks that down into 4 steps. And the key thing with it is that it is not about the individual, it's about the individual's experience with that discrete task. Not broadly.
Got it.
Make sense?
Yeah. So if you have a team, quite a large team then, and everyone's at different levels, what approach do you sit down individually with each one of those? Let's say you've got a team of 7 SDRs, all at different levels. How would you approach that then? Would you have separate conversations with them all, or maybe group them into similar levels of experience, I imagine?
So I'm probably going to do a number of things. If we continue that cold calling analogy, I'm probably going to do some individual coaching, which is going to be very much tailored to their level. But here's one of the other things. Top tip, cheat code for leaders. Use the people around you. One of the other things I'm going to do in that team of 7 is I am going to get individuals who have proven skills and proven experience to help reinforce, to lead some of the sessions, to maybe get a group session, to do some role play. I'm a huge fan of role play. It's the hardest environment when you're pitching to your colleagues, but it's the safest environment because the worst thing you get is feedback and learn. And they know the pitch, they know the value proposition, so you're going to get the best feedback. You just got to go over a bit of embarrassment. But within a team like that, the individual sessions are going to be tailored, they're going to be focused on the individual, but I'm going to reinforce that with teamwork. And I'm going to use team members because guess what? When I'm doing that, it takes all the pressure off me. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And as a leader, I can tell you now, with the BDRs that I have in my organization, they are way better than I ever am or could be nowadays at what they do. So why wouldn't I use those? So again, as a leader, it's about using the resources and the people you have around you to help lift the skills of everybody. And the person doing the training, the person that would maybe lead that session, they're also learning. They're developing the skill of coaching so that when they step up from being an individual contributor to a BDR to maybe a BDR manager, guess what? They're not coaching for the first time. Win-win.
Yeah, I guess it empowers them as well and makes them feel more. And also, they always say as well, you learn by coaching others as well, don't you? So they may be even getting better what they're doing just by coaching others.
Completely, because if you're going to coach on something, you have to deeply understand it. We talked about situational leadership. I wouldn't say I'm the world's expert on it, but I know enough about the principles to be able to explain it to you. And it's the same with coaching. And every time I talk about situational leadership, it reinforces my knowledge, it refreshes my knowledge, so I get better as well. So I'm a huge fan of leveraging the expertise in the team, checking the ego as a leader, remembering that the job is to facilitate the conversation, not to be the conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Try our last set.
Together?
Yeah, we'll do it together. Last one. On you.
Let's do it.
3. So Andy, before we go into the RDLs, I want to talk about the 3 C's of hiring salespeople. What are they?
So hiring is one of the hardest parts to being a leader. And we've all made mistakes, right? Find me a leader that hasn't hired somebody that hasn't worked out, and I'd argue that they've probably not hired many people, and I've certainly made a few. And I've crystallized my thinking down into 3 things I look for, and it's the 3 C's. I'm looking for curiosity, I'm looking for coachability, and I'm looking for commitment. And commitment, think grit, think determination, think the ability to really dig in when the going gets tough and when things don't go perfectly. And for me, if I can identify those 3 things in somebody, I'm 90% confident that we and I can give them the skills and the experience to make them successful. So curiosity, coachability, and commitment.
So more tactical then, how do you look for these during the interview process? What would be your questions around curiosity to begin with?
So, simple question. What are you reading right now?
All right.
What podcasts are you listening to right now? Hey, what are you learning from those? What's something that you are doing differently today than you were doing 6 months ago or a year ago? Tell me about that. And I'm seeking to understand, are they an active learner? Do they go out of their way to take on new skills, to expose themselves to new experiences? And guess what? Past behavior is very predictive, it's highly predictive of future behavior. And so I'm looking for specific examples of what have you done to show me that you are naturally curious, that you just have this thirst for knowledge in the world.
Okay. What about coachability? How do we look for that?
So coachability, again, I go back to, hey, what's something that you're doing differently today that you weren't doing 6 months ago?
All right.
Tell me about the journey to, how did you even start becoming aware that that behavior you had there was maybe inhibiting your performance? And talk to me about the journey that you've been on to get to where you are now. I'm looking to make sure that we all have an ego, right? Everybody has an ego. It's really important. It's part of our internal psyche. But what's really important is that it doesn't get in the way of your ability to learn and take on new skills. I'm 55 years old. I've been doing what I do for 25, 26 years now. I am far from perfect, and I still learn every day. And a big part of that is being open to the fact that you are not perfect as a human being and that you can improve. And a fundamental part of coachability is being open to new ideas, being open that the world is changing, and what worked when I was an SDR may not work today.
Of course. And then last one, then commitment. How do we measure, or what sort of questions do you ask in the interview process to measure that commitment and that grit?
So I'm going to look for a time when somebody had a setback, and I'm going to ask them to share with me what that setback was, and then I'm going to explore how did they react to that. What did they do? How, did they seek the support of others around them? How did they go about working through that particular challenge? And it might be a challenge in the personal life. It might be recovering from an injury, right? It might be, I don't know, God forbid, but the loss of a loved one, the breakup of a relationship. And again, I'm seeking for somebody that doesn't give up. I'm seeking for somebody that has grit, that has determination. You work out every single day. That indicates to me that you have a certain commitment, you have a certain discipline, you're prepared to go through a level of physical discomfort in order to be the person you want to be. That, for me, is a clear indicator that you've got a level of grit. Now, we haven't spent enough time for me to be able to say whether you're 9 or 10 out of 10, but I put you above 7.
Yeah.
So there are indicators, and around curiosity, coaching, and commitment, we're looking for behaviors. We're looking for discrete examples of what somebody is doing today. We're not putting them in to a hypothetical situation in the future. Big mistake I first made when I was hiring. Hey, imagine you are on the moon and you've got 30 minutes of oxygen left and you've got to get to the rocket that's 45 minutes away. You've got these tools, what are you going to do? It's hypothetical, it's nonsense, we're going to make things up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the deal that you are most proud of. How did that deal get sourced? What was your role in it? Who else was involved in your team? What did you do to prepare those people? What was the biggest contribution you make? As you reflect on that deal, what would you do differently? All of those things are highly predictive because that's the behavior that person has now. And when they come and join us, fundamentally, they're still the person.
Yeah.
That behavior is likely to come with them.
Yeah.
So it's highly predictive.
Okay. I love that framework. I'll use it with my hiring going into 2025. You're first?
I'm on?
Yeah. I think I'd go maybe 10 out of 10 for grit as well. I know you said
10 out of 10?
7 there, yeah. I think I'll go for 10.
Well, I said you're above 7. How many reps are we doing?
We'll do 10. Try to keep your knees a little bit straighter. More of that hamstring. Yeah, that's it. And that's 4.
5.
Oh, yeah.
I know your game.
Nice. Do you mind just putting that 20 on for me? Your back feel all right?
Yeah, thank you. Nice job.
Yeah, that's all right. We take a 20 off. And then, also tell me about discretionary effort then. You spoke about this when we caught up last week.
Yes.
What is that? And is there a way to measure, look for that in the interview process as well?
In the interview process, I think is harder. Discretionary effort for me is a sign of a really healthy environment. You know, we touched on some of how I think about leadership, my leadership principles. Doesn't make them right. It's just how, you know, I've learned that they sit really well with me.
Yeah.
Some of them may sit with others, well with others, some of them not. That's okay. Part of being a leader is finding out what works for you. Discretionary effort is something I look for in my organization to give me a temperature check on, are we creating a safe environment? Are all voices being heard? Do people feel confident enough and prepared enough to take calculated risks? Because guess what? The magic in an organization happens when we move outside of our comfort zone into what they call the growth zone. A little bit like today, right? We're working our bodies, and as a result of that, in the next couple of days, our bodies will recover and get stronger. And it's the same principle with behaviors, with skills, and with experiences. We're layering them on over time in order to become better at discrete skills, more effective in our work, stronger as a leader, more capable as a human being. And discretionary effort is the work that people put in when nobody else is looking, when the results of their work may never, ever be known. But they do it because they know innately that it is the right thing to do, the right thing for their team, the right thing for their customer or their prospective customer, and ultimately, potentially the right thing for them. But it's not about them, it's about the altruistic benefit of everybody. And when you see people going above and beyond, little things like people staying until the job's done. Great example, we've just had our end of quarter, and we don't mandate people come into the office. But at the end of the quarter, we encourage people to come in, bribe them with a free lunch, right? Come on in, we'll buy you a nice lunch. Yeah. The office was packed, but it was not only packed at lunchtime when there was a lunch, it was packed at 6 o'clock. And people did not go home until the last person in the sales team had closed their deal.
Love that.
Everybody was there, and nobody told them they had to be there, but they came there and they supported their colleagues because it was the right thing to do. They took a discretionary decision to stay and support their mates. So when did you start working out every day?
I wouldn't say I work, it's most days. I think it's just, yeah, I've been doing this for years now.
It's something you've always done?
Yeah, it's something I've always done. Just part of my day. It's almost like brushing your teeth. It's just part of the day.
Yeah. Good for the soul.
It is, yeah. Maybe I'm a bit addicted. It's that feeling if I haven't been, maybe I feel like I'm cheating the day or something, I don't know. But I need to take more rest days.
Well, the rest days are when your body gets stronger.
Exactly. And also with running the business, and I do get quite stressed sometimes.
Yeah.
And I found myself picking up colds and flu a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, I think sometimes our training is a benefit. But really you think about the stress that's putting on me on top of the other stress. Cortisol level must be high all the time, and I need to take more rest days and just look at my body. I'm not an athlete, you know? And I think this is the thing. A lot of people train now and they're doing CrossFit and they're training like athletes, but then they've all got to go do a 9 to 5 every day, or run a business in my sense. Yeah. In my case, sorry. So you're not getting the rest and recovery that athletes get. You know, it's easy for an athlete because they go home and sleep they have a nap in the afternoon. Yeah. We're on cold calls, so.
You can't, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's taking its toll a little bit on myself. So yeah, it's all fun and games saying you train every day, but I don't actually think it's that healthy, to be honest. So might have to change that in the new year. Well, we'll finish the RDLs there, but just before we go into the bench press, I wanted to ask you around the hiring mistakes you might have made.
Yeah.
Because I've made mistakes as well when it comes to hiring. What are some of your hiring mistakes you made in the past, and how have you overcome those challenges that maybe that presented at the time?
Look, the dirty little secret is hiring is really hard.
It is.
If you think about the process, you have a series of conversations with somebody. It used to be the case that we would do that in person. And I think you get a lot more feedback when you're in person with somebody in an interview and in other situations as well. We read the body language, right? 90% of communication is not about the words we use, but the intonation, the tone, the body language that comes with them. And it's hard. It gets even harder when you do that over Zoom. And so I think, the mistakes, I've tried to move through fast. I've used hypothetical situations. I've asked people to come in and pitch. So in the current example at 6 cents, I might say, hey, come and pitch 6 cents to me.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
It's really common. But I think you have to take it back to the basics. What are you trying to test for? What are you trying to understand about the individual? And then how are you setting up the conversations that you have to expose that skill or those skills that you're looking for? And I would argue, for me at least, having somebody to come in and pitch on my company, not theirs, it sets them up at an unfair,
I agree.
in
I
an
see it a lot
unfair
when I
situation.
Recruitment processes, and they say, can you pitch our products? And I just think it's difficult. I've never sold it before to people that are selling it every day.
Yeah. I have found turning that round and say, tell me about the best deal the deal you're most proud of in the last 12 months. And walking through that specifically, where it came from, what their role was, as we talked before, who did they involve, that is much more predictive about how they're going to sell when they join 6 cents than getting them to come in and pitch to me.
Yeah.
Pitching as an AE is just one skill. It's one discrete skill. I can teach them that. If they're curious, if they're coachable, and if they have the commitment and the grit to learn, I can teach you to present really well. Do I need to test for that? Or do I need to test for other things? But, I've hired people because I liked them. They had similar values to me.
Yeah.
Does that serve the organization if everybody's kind of like a cookie cutter version of you? No, it doesn't. It means you can have a great, warm, lovely relationship and you get on, but that doesn't necessarily translate into success. So I've hired people I liked. I've hired people with similar values. I've hired people because they've done the job for like 5 years. And I'm like, oh, well, if they've done the job for 5 years and they've been in that company for 3 years and hit target, of course they're going to be successful here.
Yeah.
That's a big assumption. So, testing, just checking all those biases that we all have.
Yeah.
Right? For affinity bias and recency bias and all that sort of thing. And taking it back to the fundamentals. What am I trying to test for? And then how do I set up the conversation over time to test for those things? And then the other tip I would give people is use different people in the organization. Not just people in the sales organization, but perhaps from the solutions consulting pre-sales organization.
Yeah.
Have somebody from finance or from HR be part of that as well. So you're getting different perspectives. And the one cardinal sin, when you have a group of people interviewing, is that I do an interview and I say, hey, Niall, I've just met John. I've just met Simon. Simon was brilliant. I'm not sure about John. I am unconsciously influencing you before you've met that person. So one golden rule that we abide for, not try and abide for, we abide with is when we are doing a series of interviews by a series of people, I'm not going to talk to you about this candidate at all. You are going to go into that discussion fresh with your eyes wide open, not influenced by me.
Yeah, I've used that in another business before, where we all had a conversation and we'd come together at the end and decide on what we thought, because I've also seen it, like what you've said as well. We've gone back and gone, nah, don't think this, don't think that. And then everyone's got this bias before they even go into the interview. They're already thinking it's not the right person.
Completely. And have you ever used a scoring system, 1, 2, 3, 4?
No.
Okay, top tip.
Go on.
Scoring system, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to write your number down before you start that group discussion. 1, strong hire. I am absolutely convinced this person is a fit. They are, not only can they do the job, but they are probably one of the best people that we could get to do the job. 2, inclined to hire. They can do the job. We might be able to find somebody a bit better, but they could do the job. 3, inclined not to hire. There's not a fit here. There are some gaps in capabilities that I think are fundamental to success. 4, no. Just absolute strong no hire. It could be a lack of fit around values. It could be a massive miss on the scope and capabilities, but it's like, wouldn't hire them if this was the only candidate we had. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the beauty of writing it down beforehand is that, again, you remove that bias that you can have in a conversation, and you turn your scores over, and then you talk about, hey, why did you give them a 1? Why did you give them a 3?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I'll
1,
use
2,
that.
3, 4.
I'll use that. Cool, let's do some bench pressing. Cheers. But yeah, I mean, we spoke about the hiring and some great sort of frameworks and I guess strategies there on hiring. But you've also spoke about before about the environment you've created to allow people to feel like they can innovate, try new things, fail, show discretionary effort. How do you build that? So if you joined Sixth Sense, how long ago now?
Just under a year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the sort of the state of the business was when you joined, but if you are joining a new business, what do you do to try and build this environment and create this environment for people to thrive and feel that they can try new things and fail?
So we've talked about mistakes. Another mistake I've made is this desire when you first go into an organization to create change, to have impact. It's actually something, there's a great book called The First 90 Days.
Okay.
And it talks about this desire, the very natural human desire when you go into an organization, particularly as a leader, to have impact. And actually, the best thing you can do in the first 90 days is to listen, learn, observe, and understand how the organization works. Because if you create space, if you open your eyes and your ears and you talk to people and you actively listen, you learn what is really going on in the organization. And our job as leaders is to evolve and improve over time. But not only do you have to know where you want to get to, but I'd argue you have to understand where you are today and where different teams are today in their capabilities and where different individuals are. And you can only do that if you listen and learn. But of course, the natural reaction is to go in and, I've got to have impact. I've come in with this title or this job. And we want to innately show value in order to earn trust and the likes. But I think that the thing that I was very conscious about doing when I joined Sixth Sense was avoiding making big decisions, avoiding that imperative to change things before I even knew if they were broken or not. And one of the best ways to do that is to turn questions back on people. It's like, thank you for sharing that with me. Well, what options do you see? Tell me, how do you think that would play out? And it's not just a principle at the start, but I think it's a principle as you go on through roles.
Yeah. And how's it going at Sixth Sense?
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loving it.
I can tell you talk about it quite passionately, and you mentioned a few things when we spoke before around how well things are going. So, yeah, you chose the right org then.
Yeah, look, for me, it's all about people.
Yeah.
I'm at a stage in my career where, I'm probably in the the second chapter or whatever you want it, the second half of the game, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned that for me, being surrounded by great people is a very, very important part of my fulfillment and satisfaction in my role. I don't particularly feel that I need to chase, we changing it up, are you?
Yeah.
I don't feel I particularly need to chase a title. I don't need to chase a ever bigger increasing scope of responsibility. What I want to be is surrounded by people that challenge me, people that support me unconditionally, and then people who share the same values that I have. Integrity, hard work, transparency. And for me, it means I go into work with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it easy,
Yeah.
but it makes it less difficult.
Yeah.
How many reps are you doing?
20.
20?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Good old 8.
Five, 6, 7. All right, cool, Andy. Just before we finish, we've got a little finisher, 6 burpees, 9 calories on the row.
Okay.
I'll show you where the calories are. Push press with the dumbbells, and then 15 calories on the bike.
15 on a bike.
I'm gonna do this for 12 minutes, repeating as many rounds as possible. You ready?
Let's do it.
Cool. So I'll put a timer on. 3, 2, 1, go. Andy, this is a great episode. Yeah, loved your answers around hiring and the situational leadership, and I learned a lot there for myself, so thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Hopefully not too tired after what we've just done, because you've got one more thing to do, and that's the 30-second max Kowski. So your old mate Andy Bailey got 13 calories. You said you can beat him?
No, I said I get to 6.
Right. Hard as you can, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Go to the top of that leaderboard, mate. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, it's good effort. Come on, mate. It's good power. Come on, mate. Good, Andy, come on. You're on 7. 10 seconds left. Come on. Pull as hard as you can. Come on, keep that up. Keep that up. Come on. Come on, you're on 10 calories. Keep going. Keep going. Nice work. Keep doing what you're doing. 11.
Not bad.
That's not bad at all.
For an old man.
Well done, mate. Well done. Well, yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. I know it's been a long time coming, so thank you for coming on.
Back in the summer.
Yeah. We'll do series 3 around the summertime.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thank you.